see here as we're on our way to Mozambique. Yesterday, certainly, Mama Graca, a very important day, not only for Mozambique, but certainly for South Africa as well. Let's talk about the significance of this day and the country-to-country relations between these two nations that led to a democracy in South Africa.
These two people, South African people and Mozambican people, more than any other time, are being reminded that we are one. The martyrs who were killed here, they left their blood in Mozambican soil. Matola Massacre and the 33 of Mozambicans, their blood is in South Africa. Our relationship is not only of brotherhood, is of blood, which has cemented what history had told us, that we are one. So this is a monument which I hope it is going to help us to remind all the time where we come from, and that these borders which we have no significance to who we are as peoples, have no significance as the future and destiny we have to build together.
Mama Graca, how do we do that? Yes, there are monuments that are here. There's also going to be an educational center which will be opened. Those who want to know about the Matola raid can certainly come and get all of that knowledge. But what do we do as a people in our different countries to consistently conscientize others that whatever gains there have been on the African continent, they certainly were not achieved by the persons or the people of those countries, but many others across the borders were very instrumental in achieving, for example, the democracy in South Africa.
I'd like to see people's movements taking ownership of that story, that history. This is not about governments. This is not about states. It's about people, women's groups, youth groups, unions, workers in different ways. For us to constantly talk about who we are, where we come from, and where we want to go. And I think this is what has been missing. You don't see many people from Mozambique going to South Africa to remember and to honor those who have fallen for freedom. You don't also see South Africans coming this side to honor those who have fallen for freedom. And I think the monument is just a symbol, is to create a platform and a space where we now need to, more seriously than before, take ownership of our history and to leave it for us, but more importantly, to pass it on to generations to come. Because there are many people who are not aware in South Africa, who are not aware that there are these, young people who in one go, they were killed here. They were they were fighting for freedom. They were living in Matola as Mozambicans. Actually, they were mixed in such a way that you wouldn't know who is Mozambican, who is South African here. But we have to remember, someone betrayed them. Someone tipped the apartheid system that no, those people living there, one, they're not Mozambicans. Second, they are soldiers. And that's why they came straight. They didn't attack any other people. They came straight to them. And we have to learn of these lessons of history, you know. So I'm saying that it has to be a people's movement. Second, researchers. They have to go deep to understand why certain phenomena in our history happened the way they happened. Why? Because that it is going to give the fundamentals for in future situations not to continue to have the same kind of things. You know, there are people who, with some light way, they are saying, oh, in South Africa, Rainbow Nation has failed. Listen, South Africa belongs to all people, black and white, Indians, colored, men and women, and that's the Freedom Charter. But people forget that, and they question as if the Rainbow Nation, it was only declared maybe by Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. No, it was the Freedom Charter which said who are South Africans, regardless of the differences. So we are very weak in learning from our own history and to interpret history in realities of today. I hope this monument is going to help us to do so.
Mama Graca, that weakness can certainly also be attributed, perhaps. You were very outspoken about the xenophobic attacks in South Africa. Certainly some would even say this again should remind South Africans that the position that they are in, the Rainbow Nation that you speak of, that you're saying is there, was not achieved without the blood of fellow neighbors.
Absolutely.
So you were very outspoken. I'd seen you on a number of occasions. How do we deal with those particular issues then?
You know, again, we go back to history. For freedom to happen in Mozambique, in Angola, in Zimbabwe, in Namibia, in South Africa, freedom fighters were trained in the same camp. And there are people who do not know this, that the way freedom fighters in Tanzania, in the same camp, regardless of which country they had come from, the cement of what we call SADC today, it was made by that sharing of preparedness to gain freedom together by people who were coming from all these regions. People don't know about this. So there's lots of stories which we need to tell ourselves, to remind ourselves, but to tell young generations. You are talking of xenophobia. You know what xenophobia really is telling us? Is that we as peoples of the region, we have failed to provide a life of dignity to millions of our people. That was an act of desperation. It was not necessarily because they hate Mozambicans or they hate Zimbabweans or they hate Ethiopians, etc. That is a reminder. We need to be able to provide a life of dignity for all in our respective countries, and these borders don't matter, and they will continue to move as always.
Mama Graca, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you very much for your time. Just one of the dignitaries that are here at the unveiling of this monument. There's just been an announcement that has been made that President Jacob Zuma is just a few minutes away. We were expecting his arrival here together with his Mozambican counterpart, Philip Nyusi. We'll certainly bring you more on that, and of course President Jacob Zuma's speech here also at the unveiling of the Matola Raid Monument.
Thank you so much, Griselda.